Good afternoon and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this afternoon. Chris Sutton has been talking and he reckons that fans need to lay off Arne Engels, and I'm going to show you why. And I'll give you a preview just now. I'll give you a preview. This is the squad costs. This is what every squad in the Champions League in Group Day 5 ultimately cost. And Celtic, even though they're in 20th position, and that's all I'm going to show you just now, so make sure you watch to the end of the video till we talk about is Chris Sutton right, and we'll look at the Champions League squad sizes. Anyway, first up was Adam Ida. Adam Ida was talking to the media today, and listen to what Adam had to say. It's really hard, this one.
Yeah, I think it's been a positive week. Obviously, with the league game against Hearts, that was a good win, and then the game last night, it was. It's disappointing, but I think you have to take the positives from the game, and I think taking a point away from that game is a decent point at the end of the day. Bruges are a good side, so I think this week it's been good.
Yourselves?
Yeah, I think it says a lot about us this season. I think there's been times where we've not been playing great, especially in them first halves. We haven't been ourselves, but I think to be a great team, that's where you need to come back and show the character in the team. And I think we've done that really well this season, not just in the last couple of weeks, the whole season. So we keep building on that and try and do better.
See, when you hear Adam Ida talking, you actually realise how young he is. He's only 23. That's nothing. It's absolutely nothing, and especially in football terms. And when it comes to Arne Engels, he's even younger. And we've got this really, really, really young team that we're putting a lot of pressure on, and saying that they're not good enough and they're this and that. And I think that we really need to sort of back off a bit.
More run-of-the-mill Premiership games.
Yeah, it can be tough, especially for us boys that haven't experienced Champions League.
Which is the majority of the squad that have been brought in. Every player that's been brought in hasn't experienced the Champions League.
It is tough going from such a high and then down playing the league games again. So it's all about learning, and I think with the experienced boys in the group, they help a lot. The staff help a lot, and it's not a case of you're playing a league game, you can drop the standards. No, we want to keep the standards as high as possible every game. So that's the challenge for us, and we've been doing that really well. So now we just need to keep driving forward and doing it right.
You said at times the team haven't been at their best this season, but when you look at the record in the Champions League, the record in the league, that might be quite a scary thought for other teams, especially domestically, with how good your points tally is and the fact that you feel you can still get better.
Yeah, I think that's the expectation we've got on ourselves. Yeah, I know the table looks like we're doing great, and we have, to be fair to us, but I think within the group we know at times that we probably haven't been our best. We know we've got a lot more to give, and that's something we're working on every single day. And we've been brilliant this season, but we want to do better, and everyone wants to strive to do more.
It has been
interesting that he's asking Adam Ida if he thinks that he personally has got room for improvement.
Be able to just build that momentum and put in top performances, game after game.
I think international breaks can be quite difficult. Being away for a while and lads coming back at different periods, long flights, it can be tough. So now's a good time for us to regroup, get together and get as many wins and points as we can.
Did you reflect on your own personal season so far?
Probably not the start I wanted. I think comparing it to last season, obviously finishing on such a high, I thought I'd come in and score a load of goals and whatnot. So it's probably not the start I wanted, but when I reflect back and if I look at my pre-season, I didn't have the best of pre-seasons, and then it's only the last couple of days I looked at my stats. I've got a goal nearly every 70 minutes, so I think as a striker you have to look at that and be proud of that and just keep going. Obviously for me, the goal is to score as many goals as I can, and that's what I'm trying. And when I see stats like that, I just have to remind myself, it's not probably as bad as what I thought it was going like.
That's a ridiculous stat from Adam Ida. A goal every 17 minutes. Now you're going to say, he doesn't come on until like 20 minutes to go in a game. But if he's got a goal every 17 minutes, that's a stat that surely Brendan Rodgers must be thinking, look, Adam, if you could turn that on into, and this is why the manager's trying to get a third choice striker in.
So I just have to keep doing what I'm doing and keep scoring goals.
It's important that doesn't get into your head, reflecting on last season or stats or
It's
whatnot.
gone. It's last season.
Do your own thing.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, I need to keep my head straight forward, but I think there is times you do have to remind yourself how good you are, and if there's times aren't going well, you have to be confident enough to think to yourself,
Yeah.
okay, I've done this before, why can't I do it again?
Exactly.
So I think, it keeps me on the straight and narrow. And like, I am a confident player, and for me, when I look back at last season and see what I've done, I know I'm capable of doing that again, if not better.
Does it with so much talent?
It's not frustrating. I think I when I signed there, I know what the plan is. And I think I proved to myself many times before that it doesn't matter how long I play, I can make an impact, whether that's
The thing is the players
starting or coming off the bench. So
that come to Celtic, they know they're not going to come in first team choice. I mean, people are clambering over the side. I mean, somebody actually put in the comments, "Sell Arnie Engels, he's no good." These are just young lads, do you know what I mean? And it's like we need to forget about the price tag and actually just remember they're young lads. If they had came through the Celtic ranks, you could bet your bottom dollar they would be getting just as much dogs abuse until they're not good enough. And this is what's wrong. This is what's chased players away from Celtic in the past. So I think that moving on from Almeida, I think that he knows that he can do it. He's not got off to the start he wanted. He admitted that he didn't have the pre-season that he wanted. And let's listen to Brendan Rodgers.
That we just expect, because we're playing against a really good side, a pot 2 team who've got more experience, recent history in the Champions League than ourselves. That's the game I felt that I've been in before that we've lost. My first time here, we played a couple of games similar to that in Borussia Mönchengladbach and Anderlecht at home, and the game got away from us. But I feel that this group is what we're making great steps to really, be competitive at the level, and to do that against a really good side who in the game before beat Aston Villa 1-0. So it tells you they're a really good team, and for us to come back into the game and finish the game really strong. So yeah, we as I said, we mustn't fall into that trap of expectation of just thinking that we have points and then play well against other teams. Then a team like Club Brugge comes and because maybe not so many people know so much about them, you think you just roll them up. This level doesn't work like that. So for my players, I was very pleased, and especially with the response in the second half. So yeah, and another step to where we want to go.
Any particular job to pick Cameron up in the days that followed, or is he the type that just sort of gets over any mistakes quite quickly?
Get on with
Yeah,
it.
it's just reinforcing. It's not so much him himself. It's one of those things. I said to Nicholas Kuhn, as long as he doesn't claim the assist, because he seems to be getting assists left, right and centre these days. So, but no, just one of those things. We needed to get into shape earlier. That was the.
That's exactly what I was talking about on the live the other night. People were saying it was Cameron Carter-Vickers' fault. It was Nico Kuhn's fault. I mean, Nico Kuhn, he thought rather than put Schmeichel under pressure, he would turn around and put it to Cameron Carter-Vickers. Cameron Carter-Vickers obviously thought that Schmeichel wasn't to his right-hand side, so he automatically turns around, shields the ball from the oncoming attacker, kicks the ball back to Schmeichel, who he thinks is on his left-hand side. They do this in training all the time. They do it in training all the time. It is just that Kuhn picked the wrong ball on the day, ultimately.
That was the correction that we make on it. And but listen, he's been a real colossal player for this club, and will continue to be. His response in the game is actually very, very good.
Yeah.
So just one of those things.
Yep.
That happens in the game, and his response and the team's response was very good.
We spoke to Almeida, who said it can be a challenge, whether it's emotionally, psychologically, going from those big Champions League nights and then focusing on the bread and butter, if you like, in the Premiership. What do you do as a manager to maintain that? Is it consistency of messaging? How do you prepare for this transition?
Yeah, I think hopefully you'll see
Squad
over the course of
rotation.
this season now we've played 5 games in the Champions League, and we've gone from Champions League to domestic. It's exactly that. I think every game is a Celtic player, and I think the longer as Adam is here, he will recognise that himself also, that every game is a big game.
Yes.
You can't just turn it on and off. You know, the Ross Counties, the Hearts, all these games. These are the games that get you there.
Yep.
So for us, it's a good point for us the other night. We prepare now, we recover, and then we look to bring a big energy into the game tomorrow. So it's always a challenge, but these are the challenges that you have to meet to be a top player at this club. The consistency that he's played internationally and clearly domestically, and shows them how he's rising as a football player.
Do you feel he's developed this season in terms of an attacking sense? Has he maybe added that to his game a bit more this season? You see with his stats in terms of goals and assists, I think are more than they have been in his previous seasons at Celtic.
Well, I just think it's just you evolve and develop, don't you, with time and patience, and I think that the encouragement of him going more forward than coming inside. We have a fullback that does that, but sometimes the game you play doesn't need both coming in. Sometimes they need to be in the half space, so it just depends. But either way, we want to attack, we want to score goals. I think if you look at our records, you know, we score goals, we create many opportunities, and for me, I've always liked my teams for the goals to go around the team, whether it's wingers, strikers, midfield players, fullbacks, centre halves. This collective responsibility, and for me this year, he scored early on. He's got that love and feel that you get when you hit the back of the net, and he looks a threat in the games.
You look at some of the names that he's in amongst, you know, some of the top defenders in the world. It must be great for, you know, the club to have someone, you know, ranked amongst them in that selection.
Before Brendan Rodgers talks, it's fine Alistair Johnson getting the accolades of being one of the top defenders in Europe, but then it does come with the caveat of who's going to come knocking at the door for Ali Johnson. Now, he has just signed that new long-term contract at Celtic. He's not in a rush to head out the door, but it doesn't stop suitors trying Celtic's arm. They will see Celtic as a team where they could pick up players for not a lot of money. And before we go back to Brendan Rodgers, we want to talk about people that cost what Celtic fans perceive as a lot of money, and that one man is Arne Engels. Yes, he's the most expensive player that Celtic have ever bought, but Chris Sutton says transfer fee that we paid for Arne Engels is practically buttons. You would think some people have learned their lesson from last season. Too many Celtic fans were rushed to pass judgment of Nico Kuhn. Not just last season, just at the beginning of this year, everyone said that there was a lot of people who said Nico Kuhn was rubbish. They didn't understand that he had a medical condition that didn't allow him to perform at the top of his game. And it was almost written off as a no-hoper after arriving with some fitness issues. Kuhn is arguably the best player in Scotland, and Chris Sutton sees him as a £30 million asset for Celtic. And here we go again though, Arne Engels. It seems that some supporters are concerned that they're not getting enough bang for their buck with the Belgium. It says they need to calm down. They also need to ignore the price tag of £11 million. Look at the money they transfer in Scotland. When you consider the market Celtic are shopping in, it's practically buttons. And it is practically buttons. And that takes us in nicely to this element of the video. This is the squads, and this is their rankings within the Champions League, and it is the squad value. If you look at Liverpool, who are sitting first in the Champions League, they've got a squad value of 931 million. Inter Milan are sitting second, and they've got a squad value of 677 million. Then you've got Barcelona, 946 million. Dortmund, who Celtic played, and Dortmund, who annihilated Celtic, they've got a squad value of 475 million. Atalanta, who Celtic got that absolutely fantastic draw with away in Italy. It was a big result for Celtic getting that draw, and it kept us unbeaten in the Champions League. They have a squad value of over 448 million. Then when you look at the team that are sitting just above Celtic in the Champions League, Juventus in 29th position, they have a squad value of 594 million. Celtic are sitting in 20th position in the Champions League. After game day 5, we have a squad value of 124 million. Yes, only the 124 million is our squad valuation. Now, when you look at the fact that we spent 11 million on Arne Engels, yes, that does take into consideration that this is the valuation that we would ultimately sell players for. When you look at Real Madrid sitting in 24th position with a squad valuation of 1.3 billion. Sound like Trump there. Billion. When you look at it, I mean, PSG, the clubs that are in the elimination area, right? Let's look at this and put it into perspective, Celtic fans. PSG have got a squad valuation at 893 million, Shakhtar Donetsk 160 million, Stuttgart 314 million, Sparta Prague have got a squad valuation at 85 million, Sturm Graz 69 million, Girona 217 million, Red Star Belgrade 79 million, RB Salzburg 202 million euros. Bologna, there's a couple of Scottish players at Bologna, isn't there? They've got a squad valuation of 279 million. RB Leipzig, 518 million euros. Slovan Bratislava, 29 million, and Young Boys, 66 million. So I hope that gives you a little insight into why Celtic fans need to lay off Arne Engels. He is a young player with Celtic squad valuation of 124 million. It puts us in the lower tier of what the squad valuations are within the Champions League. And I think that the Chris Sutton piece basically telling fans, look, he's just in the door, give him a chance. He's just a young lad. We're sometimes a bit too quick in Scotland to jump to conclusions about players, but it's all right. Chris Sutton says the higher level of prospect Celtic are perhaps used to. Yes, he is a higher level of prospect than Celtic are used to. We are used to going out and buying players of 1 or 2 million. And when the deal gets closer to the Odsonne Edouard, who was bought in for 9 million, that was a lot of money in Scottish football. But Odsonne Edouard was a player that had a little bit more experience and was just a little bit. No, he wasn't, was he? He was a bit younger. Shut up, Baz. Anyway, Engels. He will realise his potential at Celtic Park, and it's not like he's been hopeless so far. There's been a lot of good stuff in the first few months at the club. He's looked the part in some European nights in particular. He's already a full Belgian international, and may that continue. Engels has just turned 21. He's a young lad trying to adapt to a new country. He wasn't that great at Kilmarnock or the first half against Hearts, but he wasn't alone. It's a tough physical league in frantic Scottish football. The experience that you get in playing in Germany and Belgium doesn't set you up for Scottish football, not at all. I know this because I've been there. When I arrived at Celtic Park, along with other big money signings, we came in with a lot of experience at a high level. Martin O'Neill signing proven players to play in the Scottish Premiership. John Hartson, Chris Sutton, to name but a few. They got a shock of their lives when they saw the standard of Scottish football, and that was 20 odd years ago as it stands just now. Anyway, let's finish off the video, listen to a little bit more of the manager this afternoon and see what he has to say about the players coming into the league.
You've got further possibilities in Europe and whatnot to come. How busy do you expect that month to be, considering how busy you were in the summer?
Talking about the January transfer window.
Well, like everything, we would like to improve if we can. Firstly, I'm seeing the improvement of this group of players and this team here. So we brought a number of players in, but of course, every window where you can, if you can improve and the right players available, then we would certainly look at it. But there's a lot of time for that.
Yeah.
Can I just ask you about Arne Engels as well? A debate about his recent performances or whatnot. When he comes with a price tag, fans maybe expect a bit more, but you also have to look at the age of the player? 21, still
yes.
Kind of raw. Should fans be a bit more patient and to see the growth that Arne will bring?
Yeah, I know in life it is a challenge now for anyone, but I think the most recent example of that would be Paulo Bernardo.
Yeah.
It was exactly the same, if I remember back.
Yep.
You know, highlighting Paulo and his performances this time last year, and now he can't be cheered on, you know, loud enough when he enters onto the pitch.
Yeah.
That's called development.
Yep.
It's called patience. It's called time. Arne's a fantastic young player, otherwise we wouldn't have brought him here.
Not for 11 million.
He doesn't set the price. You know, he's come here to a big club to improve his game. And I've got absolutely no doubt he will do that. But hopefully, I know it won't be the case, but I would hope that people will learn their lesson. Same people that were writing off Paulo and Nicholas Kuhn and it'll be Arne Engels, it'll be someone else, then you have to look and see and understand that development takes time. Some will hit the ground running and be fine and adapt perfect, but not everyone is like that, and especially a young player. So I've been really pleased since he's come in, because I know the future for him. He will improve, he will develop and get better, and we've seen it so many times.
What a manager! What a manager! Honestly, Brendan Rodgers is. When you think about the last manager that we had, he spoke a good game, and he went on and he spoke about his experiences and his previous exploits in football. Brendan doesn't do that, does he? He's a completely different manager. He speaks about the here and now, and he speaks about the focus on the players, and you know, maybe talk about the experience of his first time here when we lost games in the Champions League. Yes, but he's a manager that knows how to really make a player better, knows how to bring the best out of players, know that the longevity of a player, know the journey, that a football journey that the player is ultimately going to go on. And I just think it's a fantastic time to be back a Celtic fan, always to be a Celtic fan, but to have him back at the club, you just feel that there's something special going to happen again.
Feed into the players that the expectations are so high that they have to keep their own, a balance between keeping their expectations high and pushing themselves as well, and not being too hard on themselves.
Yeah, no, it's very important. I've said before, it's a trap really. If you think, I think probably because there's a lot more information out there now, and there's a lot more comment on players through whatever social media and all the various channels of information and knowledge that they can pick up. I think then that can feed into, but that's my job to, as I said, to control that. Adam, listen, between January and the end of the season, he was really at the top of his game.
Yep.
He knows that, and we know that. So I don't worry about Adam. I know what he can do, and every supporter should know what he does. When you've seen what he brought us, he came back really late in pre-season, so he wasn't up to speed physically. And that has probably held him back a little bit, but I start to see him growing and getting better. He's played really well for us in certain games. The Atalanta performance was a big performance by him. Okay, he doesn't score, but it's not always about scoring. As a striker, you bring other people into the game. So I've got no worries about Adam Idah. He was a player we really wanted to bring here. We've seen the contribution that he made. We see the potential that he has. And likewise, a player that's still developing and learning, but he's still capable of coming in and affecting the team.
People forget about that. People forget about the fact that Norwich pissed Adam Idah about left, right and centre. And you remember back to the summer when Adam Idah was late going to a training camp in Europe. He turned up a day late. And everyone thought that that's him trying to force the thing. But you got to remember, they pissed him about and they never gave him much game time during pre-season. And that ultimately, Brendan Rodgers goes on about it time and time again. Get a good pre-season in with the players and then you'll see the benefit of it.
To play up here, I think the scrutiny is on you. You're going to have your critics. Sometimes it's deserved, sometimes it's not. But either way, a lot of the time you don't have the last word.
Yeah. But
you do have your chance on the pitch.
Yep.
To show what you can do. So I've got no doubt. But like every player, whether they're young or old, you're not immune to it. You know what's been said. But as I said, he only really needs to worry about his teammates and ourselves and his development and coaching. And as I said, he's such a young player with a lot of potential, and that's why we brought him here. He's not the finished article.
Also, so this week an outlet had produced a list of kind of squad valuations for the top 24 in the Champions League, and Celtic were, I think, the lowest within that. Does that kind of highlight the challenge that you're facing and how well the team are actually doing at that level?
Are we talking budgets, are we? Are we talking budgets? Okay, because it normally comes the other way whenever we. So, well, that's I think if you got some logic in the game and some common sense in the game, you would see that. You know, I think, as I said, like a team like Club Bruges the other night, we can never get above our station and think that because we're a massive club, an iconic club, that these other clubs aren't very good and have
Exactly.
been at the level longer than us. And like you say, they're probably on that list, then we'd be at the bottom. But again, it really shows you how well the players are doing.
Yes.
And also
Yes.
when we have that indivisible unity of the support and everyone together, then we're a real competitive force at this level, and that's what we want to be, and that's what we're trying to build. So
Yes.
so yeah, it's a great level to be in, but it's always a big challenge for us.
Brendan, Paul Tisdale's been in post about 6-7 weeks now. Can you tell us about how that's working and how you hope that'll benefit the club going forward?
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it'll be a big benefit for us. He is Paul came in here during the summer to help. I felt that I obviously control the core performance of the team, the B team and everything else that goes around that, media, everything else. But there's a side that runs beside that, which is for me the strategic operation of the club. And I felt there was a gap there in that. So we wanted to bring someone in and just to see how that would go. Paul, not only has he managed before, which gives me comfort, he knows what it's like to be in the shoes of a manager, but he also understands the business side. So I felt that having someone in to help support that organisation and a lot of the logistics that go on at that level, from recruitment to academy to admin, for me, a modern club needs that. And if you're going to progress, you need that operation. Because if I'm out on the pitch and doing all the stuff there, it still needs to go on by in here. Clearly, the business side of the club is run immaculately. You only need to look at Celtic over many, many years. But from a strategy perspective, that was Paul's role. So he links in very closely with Michael and myself, along with Dermot, in terms of the strategy. And we obviously converse a lot, we speak a lot, and he will bring his strength to that role. So
how busy has he been on the recruitment side?
Been quite busy. Very clever up here, you know. The questions. No, it's always ongoing, isn't it? You know, even if we're not just looking for January, it's beyond. You know, we get meetings this afternoon around our young players and looking at that strategy. So it's ongoing. It's not. I always say you can't wait for the future to plan for the future.
Yes.
You know, you've got to be looking at it now to
fail to
look
plan and
forward,
plan to fail.
And the club's in a great place. We're in a great moment, but we have to always look forward. So yeah. So listen, that is a part of his role to oversee that and to make sure that we are in the best possible position as a football club to grow that department in order to get the best players in so that we can perform.
I've got to say, hats off to the guys that have been doing the questions today. I'm one of the first to criticise the level of questions that we sometimes ask at these interviews, and I think that we miss opportunities. Today, fair play, lads. Everyone got it absolutely spot on, and that question, that was a killer question about Paul Tisdale being in the thing for a couple of months now. Absolutely on fire.
Sort of challenge you expecting from Don's side tomorrow?
Yeah, I think they'll be very determined.
Forgot we had the game tomorrow. We're 14 minutes into a 15-minute interview, and then we start asking about the game tomorrow.
Obviously, Don, I know well. He was my first ever signing as a manager. Don, when I was manager at Watford, and 50 grand I think he was, and he was done brilliant for me at Watford. So I've known him since those days. I've always been in contact with him and followed him. Obviously worked closely with Malky, and then he's gone out on his own, and I think he's done a really, really good job. The game that we played up there, I think it could be a similar type of game. They were super organised, they all knew the job and all knew the role, and we had to work very hard at the end to get the result. So I will expect a similar game. They'll carry a threat in various moments, but for us, we're at home.
Yeah.
And we love playing at home.
Yep.
We want to be at home. We want to showcase our energy, our attitude in the game, and that's what we'll look to bring. So it will be a tough game, I'm sure.
Absolutely friggin' over the moon with those questions at the Celtic presser today. Fair play to the guys that asked the questions. Spot on. About time that we started asking Brendan Rodgers really pressing questions. You know, questions that are just not fair play is. That's all I've got to say. Anyway, on that note, have an absolutely fantastic evening, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world. Absolutely, I'm over the moon with the questions today. Actually, over the moon.